Hello, hello.
Hello, how are we?
We are great.
Good to hear. It's a pleasure to have you on the channel today, mate. What's it like over in your part of the world at the moment?
Well, it's quite beautiful spring day in Finland. It's maybe like 3 degrees warm. For us, it's quite warm already.
I was going to
Not much
say,
snow anymore.
no, and it's going to be a bit of a difference coming all the way from Finland all the way to Australia. It's a different type of atmosphere, different type of weather. You've been here a couple of times in the past as well. How do you find it? Do you enjoy the warm Australian atmosphere, or is it just that too warm for you?
Well, it maybe it's a bit too warm for us, but we have really enjoyed Australia. Like the shows have been great, and people are super friendly, and we've had a great time in Australia. We are really looking forward to coming back.
And we're looking forward to having you back. And it's not long now at all. It's kind of creeping up on us, 2025. I can't believe we're already towards the end of March. That's crazy to me. But
Yeah.
how have you been keeping busy? How's the tours going? Everything leading up to this?
Well, we have been doing the Shadows of the Dying Sun anniversary shows. Actually with Omnium Gatherum in Europe and in Finland during the spring, and a few more of those left, and then we together come to Australia. So we like to tour with those guys. And it's been really, it's like a bunch of friends traveling together, so it's great fun with them, and also for our Aussie fans, it will be a good show for sure. Two bands that like to enjoy their live shows and headbang a lot, so it will be energetic.
No, we're looking forward to it as well, because it has been, I think, 8 years since you guys were last down here. What can the people coming to this new show kind of expect? Because that's a big gap. You've had a few albums out since then as well. Does that affect how you look at the set list before coming? Because there's so much that's come out since last time you were here.
Yeah, making the set list gets more and more difficult with every album. You have to play the old classics and you have to play the new stuff. So it will be a mixture of old and new. Of course, we play from the Anno album, which is the newest one. Quite a few songs, but I think more than half will be old songs anyway. So,
well, I'm glad you said
something.
I'm glad you said you're playing something from the new album as well, because the new album is fantastic. I remember that came out a couple of years ago. I had it on repeat. What was the writing process on that one like? Because it's got, and don't get me wrong, you guys have always had that kind of dark, powerful tone, but I don't know, there was just something that kind of crept through the music. Maybe it was the lyrics. Maybe it was the lyrics that got me a bit more, but there was just a little bit of a hauntingness to it almost. Like, how was the writing process for that?
Yeah, well, we had this short story that I wrote, especially for this use, and it combines real history from the 17th century, the witch hunts in Europe, and there was a big famine in Finland 2 years in a row, that all the harvest was gone, and like 1/3 of people died. Really dark times. And then I'm combining some fantasy elements, like, well, werewolf story there. So it's a very dark story, and we first had this story, and then we started making music that would fit the tone of the story. So it became kind of harsh and cold and kind of black metal-ish also by Insomnium standards. And also we wanted the sound and the mix to have this kind of 90s feel in it. So we took Mr. James Arellano Gomez to mix it, because he has done stuff that sounds like what we wanted it to sound like, not too modern, kind of this 90s metal vibe in it. And I think he did excellent job. And we first had the story, and then we wrote the music to reflect that story.
Do you find it easier to write the music that way when you've kind of created the narrative of how you kind of wanted it to start, finish? You've got the story, and now it's time to create the soundtrack for. It's almost like you're creating the soundtrack for a book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find that's easier or harder? Yeah.
Of course, it had both ways, because kind of limits your, okay, now we're gonna do this, but then when you can focus on doing this thing, and other albums, the spectrum can be really wide, and we're gonna do this and this and this. But with this one, it was kind of, this is the tone of the album, let's do it. But I think there's still like variety there and different kind of songs, of course. But Yeah, but it's a different process, and let's see how it. At least now there is no story yet for the next album, and we have already started making the music, so it might be this time we do it like this.
It must be a little bit refreshing to do it that way, to go, okay, I've got the story now, let's write to the story, and then you're like, well, we're writing the music, it might have a story, the story will come later. It must kind of keep, maybe that's why everything sounds so fresh every time you guys have a release, because it doesn't sound like it's an album for the sake of an album. Everything kind of fits in place and feels special. I guess maybe that's just part of it. That's how I've observed it anyway.
Well, that's great to hear, and of course that's what we want to do, not just release something to get on the road again, but really make like good stuff and good songs, and not any filler songs at all, but and also not repeat ourselves all the time, but bring something fresh to the table and still sound like Insomnium. And of course that's the balancing, that how do you evolve your sound but still sound like yourself. And there are so many bands that have evolved in a wrong way, and then people don't like them anymore because they've kind of lost the thing that made them cool in the first place.
Yeah.
And then there are bands like AC/DC who keep on doing the same thing and people love them. And that's cool also. But yeah, we try to evolve one way or the other.
Yeah, no, and it's a good thing. And I think you look back at artists like, Top Man, I guess I can see Iron Maiden is a very good example of evolving throughout the years, doing something. Sometimes it's gone really far, like some prog rocky almost type stuff, but I always felt that was really cool as well. But music-wise, what was a big influence on you growing up? What kind of shaped you into the person you are today?
Oh, well, there's all kind of stuff. As a kid, I listened to like Jaimunji, the French synth artist. And then Queen, of course, was my first like rock band that I loved, and Aerosmith, and then I got into metal, of course, Metallica and stuff like that. Then I got towards the death metal section, Amorphis, Sentenced, In Flames, Dark Tranquillity, and those were the kind of bands that influenced Insomnium in the beginning. We wanted to sound something like that. So that's kind of how Insomnium started. But like nowadays, I'm mostly listening to like movie soundtracks or game music or some dungeon synth, bizarre stuff, whatever. Not that much metal anymore, because I'm making metal and then I'm playing the shows. So on my free time, it's going to be something different, something else.
Yeah, well, you got to kind of unplug every now and then and get away from it sometimes. Yeah. So I can completely, especially when you're living and breathing it. It's literally, it's your lifestyle. Like it's your life. You're the metal guy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So you kind of got to unplug it and relax sometimes. So yeah, no, I can completely understand why you'd be doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, like when we are in a tour bus, like after the show in the evening, like nobody puts Slayer there. It's always something really easy, like Toto or Bryan Adams or whatever. Very easy stuff. That's what we want to hear after the metal show.
That's what I do after metal gigs as well. I kind of go, oh, right, gone to a concert, and I'm like, what am I going to put on the way home? Oh, I'll put on some Fleetwood Mac, something like that, where it's just, it's completely different. Oh, I love that. I love to hear other people do it as well. It's not just me, because my Spotify doesn't know what to do with my playlist sometimes. But getting back to the Aussie tour, because you have been down here a few times, have you had any memories or any fond memories or any bizarre memories of touring down here? Because it's a bit of a trek to come all the way over from Europe to Australia. It's I've done that flight. It's not a fun flight.
It's not a fun flight. The thing is, you are very tired most of the time because you're flying almost every day. You're jet lagged and then you're flying. You really can't get much sleep. So but I have really good memories. Like we had a day off in Brisbane, I think, and we went to the Gold Coast.
Yep.
To do surfing. We took this surfing lesson. It was really fun to try. Very difficult, but really, really fun. And then on the other day, we rented some bicycles and went to the zoo to see the kangaroos and koalas, and that kind of stuff is really cool when you have time to do it.
Yeah.
But like the shows were really good. People were really nice in Australia. Really good memories.
And I like it too, because I don't know, maybe you've experienced a bit more touring. I find that Australians are really starting to, and they have for a number of years now, are getting into a lot of the European bands and the melodic death metal, which doesn't seem to be a huge thing over in America. It seems to be a bit more metalcore, hardcore, deathcore over in the States, where I feel Australia is really starting to adopt, you know, a band that could play Vacuum could come down here. You know, we just had Windrose and all that down here as well. And Dark Tranquility was just here as well. But 20 years ago, those bands weren't touring down here. Have you noticed yourself in the last couple of years, or even since the pandemic, that people are hungrier to see bands that they just thought they'd never see or just go to the shows? Because I definitely have noticed it down in Australia that ever since the pandemic, shows are just selling out and people are flocking to them. I'm just curious if you've noticed that yourself on your end.
Well, that's great to hear, of course.
Yeah.
And well, these couple of previous tours we've done in Europe and in USA, they've both been like our best tours.
Yeah.
Like crowd-wise, the best attendance. So it's looking good for us. I don't know who to blame. Is it the pandemic or whatever, or are we just gaining slowly more fast, or what's going on? But it's been good and good for us. And let's see how it's going to be when we come to Australia. Are the rooms filled or how it's going to be?
Yeah, that's it. And we're looking forward to having you back down here. And lucky for you, it's not summer anymore. It has started to get a bit cooler. And by the time May rolls around, it shouldn't be too bad. It still might get a 30-degree day, which I'm sure is unheard of over in your neck of the woods. But
yeah, we might have one day every year when it's 30. So.
Well, you're lucky you weren't here a couple of weeks ago because it was 44 degrees. So, yeah. And I was at a music festival outside, and I'm a pale ginger. Yeah. I was a lobster afterwards. Mate, I'm so happy that you guys are coming back down after all this time. I know the fans are going to love it. I cannot wait to see you guys in Sydney. It'll be my first time seeing you. My friend is thrilled. He's seen you guys, I think, 8 times because he travels over to Europe to see you as well. Very stoked to have you down here. Is there anything you wanted to say to the Aussies out there before I let you go?
Well, Aussie friends, we are really looking forward to come to play with you guys again. So it will be a fun night with Insomnium and Omnium Gatherum. So get your tickets.
Beautiful. And the ticket link will be in the comments down below, so you can't get lost anywhere. But, mate, cheers. It's been a pleasure. Can't wait to see you in May.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.